Yeah, I'm gonna keep this in.
I figured you would. Okay, go.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Third Act. Hello. Oh my goodness, we are back with the reviews. Are you excited?
I'm kind of nervous, honestly. Like, it's been a while since we've been in front of the camera, and like I think coming back I think we built this momentum, I think, and then like the pandemic just threw a huge wrench into all of that. As it did for most of us. I mean, honestly. Okay, so just a recap for those of you who weren't able to watch our last video where we explained this. We are going to be compiling the reviews into groups or clusters. So in this video alone, we are going to be reviewing 5 different shows. So moving the process right along, we're going to start with our very first show. Our first show that we're going to be talking about right now is called The Glass Menagerie, and it was performed by St. Joseph's Academy in Brownsville. This was their first entry into the Palm Awards, I believe.
Yes.
And honestly,
this is the first show that we saw from them, I believe.
Yeah. Honestly, I think it was a really good way to start.
Absolutely. I think this was the first show back that we saw.
Yeah, I want to say that sounds correct, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so what was your first impression from The Glass Menagerie?
Honestly, when we came in, first of all, I want to say that because this was the first show we saw, and now having seen so many, we are seeing a group of shows that are being done in like a cafetorium style. So it's really interesting to see how the schools work around that, because it is honestly, sometimes it can be a hit or miss, honestly. Like, it really does just depend on what you have and what you don't have. But if I'm being honest, I really do feel like it did kind of take me away, and I forgot that I was in a cafetorium. The first impression, obviously, the set, amazing. Zachary Stutz, beautiful.
Oh my gosh.
It was great. I really enjoyed.
His sets are always wonderful.
Yeah, and I love the set designers where you can walk into a show and you'll be like, that's it. That's Zachary Stutz. You know, so like I feel like that was my first impression. I was like, okay, set, beautiful. One thing that I was really excited about was that it was a show that had a small cast.
Yeah.
Those shows to me are really, really good choices to make, especially when the 4 people you have are strong. Just because it does give you that same level of an ensemble show. Even though there's only 4 people in the entire show, like in the entire 2 hours or 1.5 hours. Like, I think for me, it was just a really cool entrance into like this whole, Palm Awards season and beginning the season, really. I thought it was very well done.
I wanted to tie it into what you said about the smaller cast, because what I saw from the show was character development throughout the show. And that's the thing with me. Whenever I go see a show, I want to see that. I want to see character development. I just don't want to see one character that doesn't develop throughout the whole show. Like, there's got to be a story. There's got to be a lesson behind, the show that we're watching. And absolutely throughout, the story was told very beautifully, and the lesson was told very gorgeously. Is that a word?
Yeah, I think so.
Gorgeously?
Mom? Fact check.
Mom.
She was an English teacher, for those of you who don't know.
I was like, Mom, I forgot. I completely fell in love with the story. I fell in love with the characters. I fell in love with the whole thing. And like you said, it took us away, because for most of the show, I was like so into the story that I completely forgot we were sitting in a cafeteria, like you said. Such amazing work, honestly. Like, the development was definitely there.
Yeah, and I think piggybacking off of that and going into like the tech elements, aside from the set, obviously, I really enjoyed what they did with the lights. So this goes back to working with a cafetorium setting. You don't have, like a spotlight and like, that whole rack of lights that you can, move and conform to the way you want them to be. I think they really used what they had effectively. They used a plethora of like LED lights throughout the stage that kind of gave it that more depth too. because they weren't just all at the front. Like there was two here, two there, and then there was some in the back, like lighting up every part of the stage. So I think for me that was really cool to see, because I feel like a lot of times what happens in a cafetorium setting, and it happens quite often, like it's not bad or good or whatever, but they tend to keep the lights in the front. So then it really does kind of take away from like that dimensional,
but it's because it creates a lot of shadows too, because they're at such a low level because you can't put them high, right? I did see some issues with that throughout the show, a little bit of shadows, but it was so minor compared to the shows I've seen done in cafetoriums where it's like shadow and shadow and shadow, like your kid is standing behind a full shadow and you can't light it up. But in this show, it was very minimum. Also, it was cool to see the costumes, because I think the costumes really did also help the character, not the character development, but it brought you in just a little more. Because it was very believable. It was very to the time period. So it was very cool to see all of that come together. Because when it does come together like that, when the costumes, the set, the lighting, the actors themselves, when they put their all into it, you can see that. And I think it really does help you lose yourself in a way. Things that I did notice with the show though is diction was a thing for me. Where it wasn't very clear, but I don't know if it had to do with the environment or anything like that. But I don't know, throughout the show I kept losing a little bit of diction. I don't know if it was the accents or if it was just, like I said, the environment. But that's just something that I noticed, like super minor. I think nerves also play into that a lot of times. I know it's happened to me several times. You get so either excited or nervous that you start talking super fast and then they can't understand a single thing that's coming out of your mouth. So I kind of relate to that, but I see that there were instances where I kind of found myself like, wait, what did they say? Like, but it could also be the accent. Okay, so the next show, moving right along, we're going to be talking about Living Dead in Denmark. This is from Valley View High School. The last show we saw there, I believe, was Shrek. That was many moons ago. Moons ago. So, what was your first impression of the show? Since the last time that we went was a musical and this was a play, I want to say that, like departments definitely have their strengths, whether it's musicals, whether it's plays. Some departments just do really well in both, but I think Valley View does really well with plays. I was really, really shocked by how funny this show was. Like, they really took me in, and I had so much fun watching the show. With Shrek, it was just a little bit more of a shock with the music and stuff like that. Like, it was just very different from the shows that I've seen, right? But with Living Dead, it was so much fun. And the thing with that is that the kids looked like they were having a blast. That's really like their niche, I think, comedy. They did a lot of combat and they did a lot of cool stunts that I was very impressed with. Yeah, I think one thing that I noticed early on was that part of the set was a like wall-to-wall mat. And they did talk about it at the beginning of the show, like there are stunts that that we did rehearse. So there is a mat just to protect the students from anything. But one thing I want to say about the stunts is that what I absolutely loved is that they went into them with so much confidence. And that makes me feel good as an audience member, just because that means that the director or whoever was directing them, like with the combat moves, really took the time to make sure that they were confident and comfortable with each other and with themselves to basically throw their bodies around, because honestly there was so much like flips and like really cool things that I didn't even see coming. Like I thought combat, like okay, combat, but swords and everything, like back flips, front flips, back rolls. It was just so amazing. Like I was really like taken aback. I did notice, having seen Shrek and then having seen this show, what I didn't notice was a good amount of improvement. I feel like these kids really did take the time to understand just a little bit more who their characters were.
not that they didn't in Shrek, but I feel like with this one it was more prevalent.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that also goes hand in hand with the fact that this was a play. So you have a little bit more of a need to focus on who your character is, because you can't really
hide behind
let me tell you about it in a song, you know, like,
yeah.
So it's kind of like I need to show you right now who my character is.
Yeah.
And so I think they did a really good job with that, because I think throughout the show, the main characters especially, I knew who they were. I knew what they were doing, why they were doing it, and it was easy to follow along. But yeah, I feel like this cast was pretty good. I think they were really good in the show.
Alrighty, the next show that we're gonna transition into is going to be Wonder of the World by Mancha. Before I even ask you what you thought about the show,
Okay.
Let's talk about the fact that you went to see it first, and I went to work. And then the next thing you said was you need to go to the show. So I called in sick to work. And I was like, all
Not
right.
you exposing yourself.
Hey, they got...
Sorry.
Was that
It's a
me?
dog fight. No? Okay, my first impression. For those of you who got to see it, they used a part of the house, is what you call it?
Yeah,
The house, yeah. To make like a dock, kind of, I guess you would say. Because the show took place in Niagara Falls, right? So, that was the first thing I saw. I was like, okay, what is this? Is the show gonna take place on this? Like, what are we doing? Okay, read me for this. But when I got there, I thought the set looked plain. And so I was like, okay.
No, I
you know what I mean? So I was like, okay, let's see where this goes. But honestly, when the show started, there were details in that set that I didn't realize were there.
Yeah.
Until they were part of the show. So I was like, So like, I think what was really cool was that it really did kind of make you like,
yeah,
like,
this, this set and this show really did that. I know we talked about the set after we both went. Did you see it 3 times?
No, I almost did.
Oh,
I
okay,
really
okay.
almost did, guys.
Because I remember we started talking about the set and we talked about how the walls looked different at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
And then I told you, I was like, that's trim, dude. They literally took off the walls and put different walls on. And you were like, no way. Like, I remember we had this conversation, but I was really impressed by that. But it takes just a little bit more finesse, because I could tell that you could take that off. Like, from the moment that we sat down. And you want to keep that as a surprise, right? You want to keep that as a surprise for the next scene, right? When you close the curtains and you open again and you see a new set. I wish there would have been just a little bit more finesse when it came to like the seams of the walls. Maybe even tape. I know Robert taught that at STC. Like, using tape really makes the connections like really finessed. The acting in the show, let's just talk about that, because I was floored by every single actor on the stage. I was so impressed and so happy to see everybody back and new faces.
Keep in mind, she almost missed this show, by the way.
Yeah, I almost missed this show, and it's probably one of my favorites this season. And I know we're not doing shout outs and we're not doing stuff like that, but I have to talk. I have to talk about Carla and Glenn. Because I cannot. Celeste and Liam. Yeah, Liam. Y'all are insane. Like, I had such a blast watching them. Like, their chemistry is perfect. Their comedy is gold. I had such a blast watching them. And if I do say so myself, like, I'm a comedy queen. Like, I love watching comedy shows. Like, floored me, absolutely floored me. I wish I could have seen it again. I almost called in again to work.
Going back to the chemistry, Carla and Glenn, Liam and Celeste, we'll call them by their government names. They had really good chemistry, but I want to talk about the chemistry the entire cast had.
Oh my god!
Because I think
yeah.
that is what sold me.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, yes, maybe the set could have been, there could have been alterations to that, or like certain things like that. But what really pulled me in and just had me there from the beginning to the end and made me want to come back was that cast.
Yeah.
Because that cast knew exactly when to go in with the comedy, when to say this and then not say this, or like even just a look. Like it was so beautifully done in my eyes. Like I think the comedic timing for that show has to be on.
Yeah.
Because there are some jokes that if you don't get them, it's not gonna land.
Before you keep going, Alejandra. Alejandra. Girl, you oh my gosh. This whole show, I know like the whole drunkie is like very typical for like comedy, but this girl killed it. Like it wasn't like your typical drunkie.
I think what I appreciated about that portrayal of that role is that it wasn't overdone.
Yeah.
Because easily when you get the part of a drunk, you can, whatever. But hers was so like, I'm a professional.
Real.
Because she was an alcoholic. I can't not talk about Victoria just because we've seen her from Parks and Rec.
Oh yeah.
As a little bitty baby. And then now, to be in this leading role.
Yeah.
Was just beautiful, girl. If you're watching this, I'm a huge fan. I have been since day one. Moving along to the next show. I'm gonna be quick. This next show is gonna be Ugly Lies the Bone. I don't know if you can see. I already know what you're gonna say, but for the viewers, what did you think of the show?
I felt so much respect from the cast, from how they took this story and just told it so beautifully. I was floored by every single person that was on that stage. There was not a single person that I was like, oh, you didn't hit it for me. No, every single one of them. And I know we're not doing shout-outs.
Look, I want to preface it with this because I know we may have some people are like, why didn't I get a shout out?
Okay.
But I do want to talk about the ones that we're shouting out. A lot of them we've known and we've seen since we started this. So I think it's not necessarily us having a relationship with them, but just seeing them grow and seeing them like blossom into these beautiful performers is just so humbling, honestly. So we want to give them their time. I mean, I think it's just like kind of like we're fans before anything, right?
Yes,
like
that's my thing. Like I'm their biggest fan right now.
I mean, because of you guys, this is why we started it.
Yeah,
so I mean, without you, we wouldn't be anywhere.
Absolutely.
I mean, we wouldn't have shows to see. We wouldn't have people to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I think we want to give some people that time just because they've been with us since the beginning, and it's just really heartwarming, I think.
But shout out to Sarina. I'm so proud of you, girl. Like I told you this when we came out of the show. Like I'm very, very proud of you. I'm very proud of your growth. The respect you had for this character, the respect you had for the show. You absolutely did it so beautifully. Floored. Their acting was absolutely phenomenal. Ivan, it was so strange, first of all, to see him in a different setting, but also so refreshing to see him in a new setting because I was so proud and so floored of everything he did. He's just one of those people like that, I don't know, you just want to cheer for, or you just like, you're rooting for them, and I am rooting for you, man. Like I really am. And let's talk about the set, because the set again, woo, wonderful job. Southwest goes, you know that thing where it's like you go a mile for someone. No, they go 100 miles for these kids, right? And their set was absolutely fantastic. The detail, the dedication for it, it was just, you could literally I didn't want to walk in to the black box because I felt like I was barging into someone's house. Right? Like, it's such a strange feeling, but when you feel like you're somewhere else and you don't feel like you're in a black box, you don't feel like you're in an auditorium, a cafetorium, it takes your breath away, and it took mine. The lighting, 10 out of 10. It was Rosa Cano, obviously. She did a fantastic job with the show. And even though she designed it before, absolutely fantastic. Like, the fact that her presence didn't even have to be there to fully captivate the perfect moments of the show was just fantastic. That just says a lot about her, and that says a lot about her work. But I'll shut up and I'll let you talk, because I know that you saw that again. This is one of the shows that we saw separately, and then you told me, no, you have to see the show, right?
Yeah. I want to talk about the actors for a little bit. I think those of us who know Southwest, have been to a Southwest show, you know what to expect. They have found a really beautiful niche when it comes to smaller casts, a black box intimate performance,
yes,
and really making you like grabbing you, not even pulling you in, like grabbing you, and like you're gonna watch this, you know.
Yes.
And I think it's really beautiful to see, because every single person on that stage, you saw the passion, you saw the love, you saw the work. I think for me, watching the show was really eye-opening, because I related to a character that I didn't think I was gonna relate to. Lourdes, if I butchered your name, I'm so sorry. Lourdes Elizondo. She played Casey. She was the sister. I honestly, like, I was floored, just because I usually resonate with that strong character that's like, I'm strong and I'm gonna overcome this, right? And honestly, what kind of floored me about the character was that she was like that for most of the show, and then there was a moment where she wasn't, and you got to see what she was actually thinking, and that brought me to tears. Like, I'm trying not to cry right now, because it was very eye-opening. And when you can make someone feel like that, that's talent. I truly cannot wait to see what you do in the future, whether that's acting, musical theater, whatever you want to do. Like, I mean, I'm there. Like, it was
phenomenal.
Yeah, but I think with Southwest, for me, it really hit a nerve, and I think that's why it holds such a special place in my heart, because I was able to find that character and be like, wow, like, that's me, you know? And I think what's really cool about this program too, with the benefit of having 3 directors, I think they're not taking it for granted. And I think that's what's beautiful about it, because not a lot of schools get that. And I like that when schools like this have those resources, they use them to their advantage, and they use every bit of it, because, you know, like, there are some schools who only have 1 director that has to do the whole thing.
Yes.
You know, and we applaud those directors, because they're doing 6 or 7 jobs at a time. And I've just always appreciated how these kids appreciate what's been given to them.
And now for the last show we're going to be reviewing on our first video, we're going to be talking about Men of La Mancha from Harlingen Performing Arts Conservatory. Javier.
Don't even ask the question. I have so much to say. First of all, I think, I took my dad, so shout out to my dad if he's watching this. We love you. I took my dad to see this show. He doesn't live here, so when he comes down to visit, I try to take him to shows. I invite him, just because he loves it, and he used to see my shows, so, you know, I mean, like, it's really cool to, like, see shows with him and, like, talk about it and things like that. But during intermission, just to give you perspective,
oh my god,
during intermission, he turned straight to me and asked me if this was a college production, and I told him no, that it wasn't, because it's not. For him to say that, I was just floored. I was like, that tells you something. Like, if he thought that, imagine what the rest of the audience was thinking, because I'm telling you right now, this show not only took me out of my seat and I forgot where I was, it took me back to college when I saw off-Broadway shows. And then that might be risky for me to say that, but honestly, like, I truly felt like I had just seen a professional production with actors who had been doing this for years.
I agree.
And it was stunning. Harlingen is so blessed to have the community support that they have. Because again, you know, just like we talked about with the, you know, multiple directors, like, not a lot of schools get that. Not a lot of arts programs get that. Band, art, choir, like, a lot of those arts programs take a backseat to sports, and it sucks. Like, sorry to make it a PSA, but like, it really does, because the shows that we've seen this season, if they're not proof enough to administrators and administrations out there that the arts matter, I don't know what is. Because honestly, like, this lit a fire under my ass. Sorry for the language, but it literally lit a fire under my ass, and it made me think, like, what am I doing? Like, that's what they just put on? Like,
we should do that. That's very sad to me, obviously. Like, this is because we see the potential that this that the Valley has for theater in general, and how much more can grow if we actually, like, put money into it, if we actually put our time and effort into it.
I walked in onto the stage. So what they did, for those of you who weren't able to see the show, they did a black box setting on their stage. So for those of you who have been to the Harlingen Performing Arts Center, that huge stage that you usually sit in the audience and see, we were on that stage with them, and it was like a square, like a turntable that they rented. These actors, man, were on a different level for me.
Oh my God.
I have to say that, just because I think they deserve that recognition. You know, and
the praise you gave it over the phone, and then me watching it with Hector, I agree.
Guys,
I woke up early for the show, by the way.
I would have gone back.
Oh yeah.
I would have gone back.
Yeah.
If I could have gone to every single one of their performances, I would have.
Yeah.
It was truly...
It was so special.
Breathtaking. I want to shout out just literally everyone that was in the show, including the tech people, because damn, that was beautiful. The show itself, the story, the songs, the emotion. I need to... this one, like, wrecked me. It destroyed me.
Yes. I was in tears. And I feel like half of those kids were laughing at me from how much I was crying.
And it was just such a beautifully told story through song, movements, the acting. Benjamin, my lord. Like, I truly want to be you when I grow up. I really do, man. Like, I think that performance was by far the best performance I've seen ever. Notice how I said ever. I didn't say high school. I didn't say
this.
All these shows, Benjamin, I've seen on Broadway. Not that my opinion should matter that high to you, but literally, like, think about that.
Yeah.
Because I truly believe
I've seen some
every
of these. I agree.
second of what you did. Every second. Not even for a millisecond did I think, oh, he's not in it. He was...
See, but we also have to talk about Devin and Tristan and oh my God. Katie. We have to talk about all these people, because I'm so sorry. But again, we saw these people grow up into the people that they are, and we saw Beauty and the Beast, we saw different shows like that. Tristan, I'm so proud of you. It was absolutely such a blessing and such a pleasure seeing you perform. That was absolutely magical. He really... the thing with all of them, all these ensemble members, all these characters, is that, yes, Benjamin was A1, but they are the ones who led this story. they are the ones who really carried everything for everything to be in place for this main character to have like the story development that he did. Katie, I'm a big fan. He's a big fan. We are.
Girl, I cried. I came back for you, girl. I came back. I was like, and I don't know if you remember, but I told you, I was like, I came back just for you, girl. But literally, I mean, floored. I want to applaud every single member of that ensemble.
Yes.
But also the characters that had the minor roles,
Mm-hmm.
because that was the perfect example of taking your 15 minutes and making it so memorable.
Oh, yeah.
All right, guys, this video is probably going to be super long, and I do apologize, but if you've stayed with us this long, thank you so much. This season is epic. I honestly cannot think of another word to describe it. It is just so amazing to finally be back in a theater and watch live theater, and you guys are really bringing it all to the table.
Yep.
And we just want to let you know, as fans, as audience members, we appreciate it and we love it so much. So please keep that energy going, because theater is alive and well, and it is not going anywhere anytime soon.
Yep.
Before we head out, I do want to give a huge shout out and a thank you to all the schools this season, and the directors, just for their hard work and their effort that they're putting into every single one of these shows, and supporting these kids and lifting them up. We want to thank Hector at A Seat on the Aisle for everything that he does for us. He is truly amazing, and if you're watching this, Hector, we love you so much for everything that you do, giving us information about shows, telling us about shows, and
going to shows with us.
Yeah, like it's truly just amazing to have your support, because we wouldn't be able to do any of this without you in our corner, and we just love you so much. But lastly, we do also want to thank the Palm Awards for everything that they do, and it's just really amazing to be a part of that this season. And you know, we want to thank them so graciously for allowing us to be able to see these shows, and allowing us to come into this conversation and kind of give our perspective, even though it is, you know, so little and humble. But we're very grateful to all of you guys for all the support, and for those of you watching, of course, obviously, without you guys we wouldn't be anywhere. So we hope you stick around, and as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much.
Bye. See you next week.